Well, hello, everybody out there. This is head strength coach with Critical Bench, Chris Wilson, and I am honored today to have Mr. John Rowley on the phone with us. And John is known for a lot of things, and Critical Bench has done work with him over the years, and we always enjoy it. And we're here today to talk about his newest, his latest, fantastic product, Extremely Simple Fat Loss. So, John, good morning, sir.
Chris, thank you so much for having me on here. I like doing stuff with you guys because not only are you strong in the gym, but you all have very strong personalities and a strong work ethic. So it's a pleasure always being around you guys.
Oh man, same here, and that's what we've created here, an environment, a team of guys who are positive, who are inspired by others, and who, are I don't want to say we're the real deal, but I mean we are who we portray ourselves to be, and that's a good thing. We don't we're not trying to exaggerate ourselves or anything, and we like to just be real and honest and motivational for people, and that's why we love your work, and I might as well just jump right into my first question is kind of this. There's so many fat loss products in the market today. They're everywhere and in growing numbers over the years. The word comprehensive comes to mind when I look at Extremely Simple Fat Loss. And it's the question I guess I have is, was the word extremely added on after you realized how comprehensive and complete this product was, or was that kind of the mission from the beginning?
No, it's funny. You struggle with what to call certain things, and in this day and age of the internet, part of that struggle comes in with finding the appropriate domain name. So it was a mixture of finding the right domain name. I had I guess other adjectives that I was thinking about, but yeah, extremely just rose to the top. And what was amazing to me is the domain name wasn't taken. And you mentioned being comprehensive. It's funny. It is comprehensive, but a lot of people will read this and think it's not because it's so simple. And the bottom line is, God didn't create us to struggle over food or weight loss for that matter. But
right.
Eating is one of the last things we should be worrying about. There's other things in life to worry about other than what food you put in your mouth because it's really simple.
Yes.
But the health and fitness industry is a $20 billion plus a year business, according to CBS. In fact, if you go to Extremely Simple Fat Loss, there's a counter on there that shows how much money is spent in the diet industry every day for that particular day. And it's billions of dollars. It's unbelievable. So anyway, that's a long rant just to say it pays to confuse people. And I'm trying to use this book as a way not to confuse people.
Okay. All right. Well, no, I like that answer. And that's, I guess, kind of why I asked it, because I know how important a name is, and that can make or break you sometimes. You can have a phenomenal product with a bad headline or a bad name, and no one ever looks at it.
And if nobody looks at you, yeah, and but a lot of people will say, well, that's the end. That's the marketing end of your business. It's not it is the marketing end of our business, but nobody sits down and writes a book, especially in our group. We've got a really strong group of people, and we'll all be getting together in Tampa in about 2 weeks, which is a joy. But in our group, I know everybody sincerely wants to get their message out, but the thing is, you can't affect lives, you can't change lives, you can't impact people if they don't read what you have. So the marketing is a critical aspect of it, and the name is a critical aspect of the marketing. So, yeah, it's important. The most important thing is the message, but if nobody reads the message, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head with that. That's absolutely right. It's what we've certainly found being fitness publishers that there's a lot of thinking and brainstorming that needs to go into it with a collection of people to finally come to something. It's not just it just doesn't pop right into your head and
no, and it takes
work.
A lot of time. Mark Twain had once said that I was going to write you a short letter but didn't have the time. The implication there is it's way harder to drill down and make it succinct. and short than it is to just kind of ramble on. And so, this book is 100 pages, but it started off being 350 pages.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, but you got to nail it down. You got to hammer it down. Oh yeah, I've written other books as well, as you know, and you always write a lot more than you end up showing. And the funny thing is, you cut good things out. But the goal is to cut the good out and leave the. I hate to use the word great when it comes to my own writing, but you cut out the good so you can leave behind the great.
I understand that 100% because that's very much how I grew up doing a lot of writing. English was always one of my favorite classes. I always enjoyed just the basics, reading and writing, and I have a tendency to say a lot, as you already know, and as a lot of the listeners, I'm sure, already know. I talk myself to sleep sometimes, and so.
I doubt it.
But I think some of your best stuff. It comes out of that because you just have so much content, and then when you take a break and come back and look at it, then you can kind of find the great and remove the good. And work on the good for another day and make it great. The stuff that you cut.
You're exactly right.
Let me jump right to habit forming. Now, we all know habits in our lives can make or break us. Some habits are great and should be admired by others, whereas other habits can really keep us from the achievements that we want so much in our lives. With that being said, good habits replacing bad habits, how important do you feel that is for somebody when it comes to losing weight or losing fat?
It's critical, but let me touch on something that you said a minute ago. You said we all know. No, most people don't know how important habits are. High achievers do, and you and I hang around high achievers all the time. So it seems like we feel like everybody knows that that's important. Most people don't know that's important. You see family members, other people, friends, people that I've known over the years that have had much greater talent than me, yet really haven't achieved much in their lives simply because they have disempowering habits. And they don't know how important it is to have empowering habits. And then once they do find that out from a big mouth like myself or somebody else, they're too lazy to go about changing. The reason I found out that habits were so important was because I became a top ranked athlete at a pretty early age, and I wasn't the most talented guy in town. But what I did is I found the most talented guys. And my father was a custodian engineer for New York City, so I was a runner. He would hire some of the top runners in the area to come work with us during the summer. And I would train with them and pick their brains. And then the next summer we'd make sure we'd get a different batch of runners. And I'd work with them and pick their brain. And that served me very, very well. And then as I got older and got into Manhattan real estate, I went from being a janitor in Brooklyn to the youngest senior VP in Manhattan real estate. And it wasn't because of my good looks, and it certainly wasn't because of my pedigree. My dad was a custodian engineer from New York City. My grandfather was a janitor. My background, I was a janitor. I didn't finish college because of a car accident, and yet I'm competing against guys who went to Harvard, Wharton, and Yale. And what I did is I made sure every Friday I interviewed somebody different, whether it be a Barbara Corcoran, who's on the Shark Tank now, who's a dear friend of mine, or other high level people, and I found out what their habits were. I found out what they did to be successful, what their mindset was, and what they did on a daily basis. And the way I came about that is I would typically ask 3 questions, and the third question was always the same. Can I see your calendar or your day timer back then? Can I see your day timer to see how you schedule your week? And I would always ask them to bring their day timers with them, and they would, because they'd be curious as to why I wanted to see it.
Why? Yeah.
And they would always ask me, why do you want to see that? I said, because you're giving me really good advice. But you're giving me that advice out of a helpful heart because you think this is what I need to know. And I'm sure you're right. But if I can see your schedule, then I can see what's important to you and how you do it. And if I can see that, and that's a long-winded way of saying habits are important for weight loss. They're important for your family structure. They're important for your relationship with God. They're important for losing weight. They're important for business. They're important for every area of your life because I don't know if there's a scientific study that backs this up, but in most people's lives that I know, 90% of the stuff we do is automatic. Most people, if they wear contacts, they put in the same eye at the same time. If they're putting shoes on, they put the same shoe on. They put the same leg in the same leg hole as they're getting dressed. They have certain habits when they eat. 90% of the stuff that we do is automatic. When you come into the office, most of the time you probably do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a habit. Well, that falls into place with eating. When you wake up in the morning, if you eat like garbage, it's a habit. If you eat good, it's a habit. If you exercise, it's a habit. And the bottom line is, in the beginning, it may not be a habit, but if you can make a list of your disempowering habits and make a list of empowering habits that you'd like to replace those with that would enhance your life, then all of a sudden, success in business, family, life, your spiritual life, and losing weight becomes automatic. So if you can just replace disempowering habits of eating poorly and not exercising, or maybe watching 3 hours of TV a night with maybe watching 2 hours of TV a night and exercising, whatever it may be. And what's going to happen is you're going to find that these empowering habits are going to stack up on each other, and within a very, very short period of time, you're going to see your whole life transform, not just your body. Let's face it, the body is, a lot of people say, the body, focusing on your body is superficial. It's not superficial. Our body houses our mind. Our body houses our spirit. It houses our emotions. And, President Kennedy said that physical fitness is not only the key to a healthy body, but it's the basis of dynamic and creative intellectual activity. So I always tell people, if you want to be a really good thinker, you need to get into the gym and be a bit of a stinker.
Wow. Now you sound like Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that line from the movie?
Yep.
I'm a stinker, not a thinker, or whatever he says. Yeah, one of my favorite favorite movies.
Thinker, not a stinker. But mine too. But the bottom line is your habits are so critical. Yeah. Yet it's so basic. It's easy.
I wish we had him back in the White House with that type of mindset, because it's an unfortunate thing, and I don't know that could be stopped nowadays. But off on a tangent, but physical education has really taken a back seat in the school world, and it's really a sad thing.
The disempowerment of people happens to unfortunately be the goal of the day. And the way you empower yourself is not through the government, not through your school, not through your job, and not through the way you empower yourself is through your own personal habits.
Right.
And it's critical. And too many people are focusing on, and I know you don't, but too many people are focusing on, what is the president doing? What is this? Who cares what they're doing? You can't.
Right.
The day to worry about that is on the day that we do elections.
Right.
And if you can have impact in that area, position, you write your senator or things like that, hey, that's great. God bless you. Go do it. But so many people just worry about it. They don't do anything about it.
Right.
And at the same time, they're not doing anything about themselves. So, why bother?
Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely, unfortunately, became a society of finger pointers. Well, I'm not where I want to be because of X, Y, and Z, instead of just looking at the mirror. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you're fat, look in the mirror, say you're fat, and don't blame it on McDonald's.
Exactly right.
McDonald's never twisted your arm to eat like a pig. So,
That's
I don't mean to be so blunt, but if you're a pig, call yourself a pig, get on with it, and stop being a pig.
Yeah, I think being blunt sometimes, though, is all you have. I mean, because we talk around issues so much anymore, and we were so worried about offending somebody, but really we're not trying to be offensive. We're trying to be truthful, and we're trying to be, straightforward and direct. And the only way to be direct is to say, the only one making the choice to stop at a place you should stop to eat on a regular basis is you.
I'm sitting here looking at my emails, and I had just did a radio show in New York last week for an Maggie Linton show. It has an African-American audience. Great interview, a great group of people. I'm a regular on her show, and I like it. And my PR company just sent me an email and I thought I had said a few things a little bit too blunt, and I was going to catch some lashback. Looking at an email just popped in. I can't see the whole thing, but it's from my PR company saying that Queen Latifah wants to have me on her show out in L.A. So, maybe sometimes telling the truth does capture people's attention.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is telling the truth. Like, with me out in the media, with you, with your publishing company and stuff. We can tell the truth in such a way where we can hopefully impact people or piss people off, and sometimes that will bring them to action. But I think the most important thing is for people to tell themselves the truth. Don't kid yourself. If you're overweight, admit that you're overweight. Do something about it. And if you're not going to do something about it, admit that you're not going to do something about it. At least be happy that you're fat.
That's right.
Why be miserable?
Yeah. Yep. Wow.
And honestly, there's nothing wrong with being overweight. From any perspective, other than the fact that you want to be healthy, you want to be able to have the energy to fulfill the gifts that God has given you. And there's a lot of pluses to being in shape.
Right.
But there's a lot of minuses to being depressed. So if I know some people that are overweight and they're just joyous people, and they accept the fact that they're overweight and they don't want to do anything about it, and they're happy about it.
Yeah. They don't carry it with them, and it's not something that's evident in their personalities. Whereas other people, it's just like they wear it like a jacket, and it's.
Exactly. You look at Governor Christie. The guy is definitely overweight. Obviously, not willing to do anything about it, but he's having a great impact on society. Depending on the way you look at his politics, it's either positive or negative. But you can't deny the man. He's there.
That's right.
He's doing something. So anyway,
right.
Kind of rambling. Let's move on.
We sure are. But you know what? That's just how we roll here.
Exactly.
That's how I roll. That's how you go. Well, a third thing, and it's in the realm of habit forming, would be goal setting. It's a little bit different though, because there's action steps, and you get into that. And I actually did some videos already that'll be up on our YouTube channel that tackle some of these things like habits and goal setting and action steps, because this is the infrastructure of fat loss, right? So
and
could you go into maybe a little bit of detail in terms of how impactful goal setting and action steps are, like the 5 that you really cover in your search or your journey of fat loss?
Yeah, setting goals is important to every part of life, and very critical to losing weight. And one thing I do want to point out, I'm running this thing called the 52 Million Pound Challenge. It's a 12-week weight loss challenge. And a lot of people have a tendency to get involved with these weight loss challenges or read a book, and you can lose 50 pounds in 10 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever else it is. The 12 weeks for weight loss is really more of a long-term goal. And you don't want to focus on the 50 pounds. What you want to do is focus on the next pound.
That's right.
So that comes into play with goal setting. Goal setting, I've always set goals since I'm probably about 16 or 17. And since I'm about 20 or 21, I always did it the week between Christmas and New Year's. I'd sit down for the week and spend a few hours a day working on goals. And then once I got married, my wife and I would do this together. And what we would do is I would set goals, and I would go 20 years out. I set where I want to be in 20 years. As a 20-year-old, I knew where I wanted to be then at 20 years out, but those things change as you mature and change, and you have a family, and you have different priorities in your life. So that's why it's critical to do every year. So I'd go 20 years out, then I'd go 10 years out. In order to reach these 20-year goals, what do I need to do to reach the 10-year? What do I need to do in 10 years to reach that goal, the halfway mark? And then I would do the same thing. What do I need to achieve in the next 5 years to be on target to reach that 10, 20-year goal? Then I would cut it back to a year. What do I need to do in the next year in order to reach that 5-year goal, which will then have me reach my 10-year goal and my 20-year goal? And then I would cut it back more. What do I need to do in the next month in order to be able to reach that 1-year goal that will help me reach these other goals? And then what do I need to do in the next week? So this week coming up, what do I need to do in order to reach that monthly goal? That's going to help me reach the yearly goal and the other goals. And then what do I need to do today to help me reach that goal? Now, it sounds like a lot of work. It's really not. You take it do in a few hours. But then the next step is, I think, critical, because we have a tendency to put off to tomorrow what we can do today. So you kind of like, what do I need to do today? Well, the next step after that for me is critical. What can I do right now? And do something. Whatever that is. If your goal is to have abs in the next year and be really lean and be in great shape and be in the best shape of your life, so you can fulfill your destiny with your family, your job, with your community, with your church, whatever you're doing. Well, what's the first step? Maybe the first step is eating a good meal. Maybe the first step is going to join a gym. But do something. Take action, man. Most people, even goal setters, I meet all these people, they sit down and write goals. The majority of the people who write goals don't even take action on anything. So the key is taking action. I'd rather see somebody who's able to implement action, who's able to take action with a monthly goal, than somebody who sits down and writes their 20-year goals out and shoves them in a closet. And that's what a lot of people do. So the most important thing is action. Now, action is, can be a big problem as well, because if you got somebody who's a massive action taker but doesn't set any goals, it's like driving cross country with no map. You're going to end up somewhere, but it may not be where you want to be. So what you want to do is you want to have goals, but the goals are really a roadmap. And those goals can change weekly, they can change monthly, they can change daily. Because you got to be able to adjust. It's like, you hear this from motivational speakers all the time. When you take a trip from New York to Hawaii in a plane, 80% of the time or 90% of the time the plane is off track. So they've got to keep adjusting and coming back. Same is true with goals. 80 to 90% of the time you're going to be off track, so you're constantly adjusting and bringing yourself back. But for losing weight, really the biggest thing is making sure that you eat properly and exercise on a regular basis. That's it. It's really simple. It's not, it's not easy sometimes because we've got bad habits, but it's really simple. It's not complicated at all.
Right, and that's a good point to make, that people, you and I know the difference between simple and easy, but other people might think, well, simple and easy are the same thing. No, that's not necessarily true. You didn't write extremely easy fat loss.
No, nothing's easy, man.
You wrote, right. It's not easy. It's very simple because the guidelines are there for you. I mean, you've covered everything from what they should be eating, what type of exercises they should be doing, and how often, and how to do this exercise, how to, and you've made it simple for them. But it becomes hard work to follow it.
When you go into that book, when you open Extremely Simple Fat Loss, on one of the very first pages before I get into any of the text, any of the book itself, there's a picture of a text message. And if everybody who read this book didn't even read the book, but just implemented the message on that text message, they'll lose weight.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I started off. It's as simple as a text message. It's
eat
simple.
all the yeah. I'll say it. Yeah, might as well read it, right? Eat all the lean protein you want. Eat all the vegetables you want. In fact, fill up veggies. Drink all the water you want. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Done.
That's it.
Case closed.
Case closed. Eat that and cut the other stuff out of your life, and you're going to be fine. You can eat all you want. It's not limiting. Dieting is not limiting. Dieting, in fact, you see it all the time, don't you, with our fitness buddies? I talk to guys who are going to do a photo shoot for a magazine or maybe do the Olympia even. And, man, I got to start eating, man. I need to lean out. You don't lean out by starving yourself. You lean out by eating properly, by eating more to stimulate your metabolism, increase your muscle growth, which then burns more calories. And
right.
Everybody throws that word metabolism around lately. 20 or 30 years ago, you didn't really hear that thrown around very much.
No.
But now metabolism is a key word. Well, all metabolism means is having more muscle than you do have fat.
That's
muscle right. Muscle burns calories at rest when fat doesn't. So
exactly.
That's it. Yeah. It's simple. But everybody wants to make it sound difficult because they want to sound smart. I know I'm not smart. I was a C student at best in school. So I have no burden on me of wanting to sound smart.
Yeah.
So what I do, if I didn't understand this stuff after 35 years of doing it, I'd be a moron. So I've learned a few things in 30 years. I make them simple because they are simple. Yeah. And I don't make them overly complicated because I don't have the brain capacity to do this.
Yeah, and it's a sad thing, and I may have touched on it before in previous interviews, maybe even something or a previous interview that you and I did, where people pride themselves on how much they know about certain things in life, their car, this, how their computer works, yet they have a really poor understanding of how their body works. And that's a sad thing, that people don't know how to speak about their bodies in terms of the metabolism, and that having more muscle mass derives your metabolism, and you're able to metabolize food much more effectively, efficiently because of the muscle mass. And people they don't understand the basics, so no wonder everybody's screwed up with their diets.
Exactly. But the thing is, the funny thing is, ask the average 5-year-old. My 4-year-old grandson and my 7-year-old granddaughter both know what junk food is. Pop, you can't eat that. It'll make you fat. Kids know. Adults don't know is because they, a lot of times they don't want to know. But it's funny, the late great Zig Ziglar, who was a friend of mine, great guy, real influence in my life. He used to tell a story, and when he was speaking, he would say, he goes, people will make sure that the oil in the car is changed, and they'll make sure that their car is running smooth. They wouldn't dream of feeding a racehorse hamburgers and buns and all this stuff. Heck, they wouldn't even think about giving garbage food to their cat, yet they'd eat anything they want. What do you have against you? And the bottom line is, if you're listening to this, what do you have against you? You wouldn't, you go out and make sure that your dog and cat eat good food. You make sure you get the food for your car. Make sure that you're eating right. It's not that complicated. Like a lot of people say, it's just so expensive to eat right. No, it's not expensive to eat right if you cut the other garbage out.
That's right.
It's expensive to eat right if you continue eating bad, spending all the money on junk food, and then adding more food to the house to make you feel good about what you're eating. But if you clean your house out and get all the crap and garbage out of there, and don't tell me your kids need it there, because I'll tell you something, obesity right now is on a rise, and many parents are killing their kids because they're too damn lazy to do anything about it.
That's right.
Kids are getting fatter and fatter and sicker. Obesity is going through the roof. And, a lot of people don't realize this, but type 2 diabetes is killing more people every year, including children, than AIDS. Yet, as a government, as a country, we focus on AIDS, but we don't focus on the one thing that can be solved by changing what you put in your damn mouth, which is obesity and type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is 100% lifestyle related. What that means is you cause diabetes by eating like a slob. Wow. And that's the bottom line. And if you're putting food in your kid's mouth and your kid has diabetes, it's your fault. It's not the 6-year-old's fault. It's not the 10-year-old's fault. It's your fault. So
that's right.
And I know it's sounding a little bit blunt, but it is so easy. It's easy to keep junk food in the house for everybody to eat. It's easy. It takes no discipline. It takes no backbone. But to actually make sure that your family eats right, make sure that you're eating right and the children are eating right, that's not quite as easy because it goes a little bit against the grain of what we feel we should be doing.
Right, and then you're almost frowned upon by family and friends. Like, you're so mean to your child. You don't let them have this, that, or the other. You don't let them have fruit roll-ups whenever they want, or Fruit Loops for breakfast, or a bowl of ice cream every night. No.
When we were young. When my wife and I were first married, we didn't let people smoke in our house. We had family members that got pissed at us. We didn't allow them to watch certain TV shows that maybe the other nephews and nieces were allowed to watch when we were family functions. And you know what? They thought that we were out of our minds. But the bottom line is, it was the right thing to do. And you can't do things because other people think that you need to do it. You need to do your responsibility. Your family is your responsibility. Anyway, that's another tangent. But the bottom line is, eating healthy is a responsibility that you have, and it's simple, extremely simple.
Extremely simple. Wow, it just keeps coming up, doesn't it? And I like the no exceptions rule. You touch on, and I think, could you explain that a little bit? Because people, I think sometimes they don't realize, we call it a cheat day, but you like to refer to it as a victory day. Could you touch on the no exceptions rule and what a victory day means?
Sure. A victory day is basically the same as a cheat day. You can kind of eat whatever you want. There's a lot of positives to it if it's done properly. So if you're eating things and you go back to the 60s and 70s, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the boys out there would go low carb pretty much most of the week, and then on Sunday they pretty much eat whatever they wanted, and then their muscles would fill up with glycogen. It would cause their bodies to start burning fat quickly. Call it carb loading in the bodybuilding realm. And there's a little confusion about this because we call it cheat days, and then you threw it. But the bottom line is, it's good. Okay, going off and eating what you want on those days, if you can, and it makes sticking to a diet much easier. So if you know that you're not going to be eating pizza all week, but you love pizza, but you can eat it on Saturday or Sunday, it makes going those other 5 or 6 days a little easier because you know you can have it. Whereas a lot of nutrition plans tell you not to eat that stuff ever, and then what happens is you end up not sticking to it because it's too rigid. So there's no benefits to it. It stokes your metabolism, it fills your muscles with glycogen, blah, 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 blah. And I think a lot of people already know this. And the funny thing is, in this book, I don't say anything that people don't know already. And there's nothing new under the sun. In case anybody's wondering, does John have this new secret? I don't have any new secrets. I learned what I learned from other people, and they learned it from other people. There's nothing new under the sun. And I don't care what book you read. There's nothing magical you're going to read, whether it be in the self-help, spiritual, fitness. Everything is just repackaged. My prayer is that the way I repackage this stuff, the way I combine these things, my voice, maybe my stories will get you to take action. So if you're looking for a brand new, thing that you've never heard of before, you've probably heard of it before. They may not have been packaged like this. It may not have been as simple as this. So anyway,
I hear you. No, and that's why I bring it up, because hearing you talk about it is packaging it differently than maybe how someone else revealed the same message. So, I'd rather hear you say it than than much of what's out there.
And I know you know this stuff. But you're really just talking more for the audience, but also the non-exceptions rule. There are certain things in our lives that we know that we cannot do. Now, if you're an alcoholic, don't take a drink.
Yeah.
If you're a drug addict, don't do drugs. If you've got problems in other areas of your life, stay away from those things. The same comes true with food. There are certain foods some people can eat and certain foods some people can't. I'm going to tell a brief story. I was in great shape. This is several years ago. We were down in Alabama at my sister-in-law's house, and my niece made a cheesecake. Everybody starts laughing when it came out of the oven. She was kind of young at the time, middle teenager probably, and it looked like an overdone bagel. It didn't look like cheesecake. It looked awful. But everybody's laughing at her. She was a little sensitive. She's getting upset, and everybody's kind of poking at her. I was like, let me have a piece of it. So I had a piece of it. I wanted to make her feel good. Well, it was friggin' delicious, man. So I had another piece, and I had another piece, and I didn't stop eating for a month. I should never have taken that first bite of that cheesecake, because once I took that bite of the cheesecake, my insulin levels shot up. I got these carb cravings, and I lost a handle on my nutrition for literally a good 3 or 4 weeks because I ate that cheesecake when I knew I shouldn't have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly. That was your gateway item there then the floodgates opened. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, pizza's another one. I'm from New York. I grew up in a real Italian neighborhood. Man, I love good pizza, which you don't have in North Carolina. But there's a guy that went to my high school that just happened to open up a pizza parlor called Sinelli's right in my area down here, and the pizza's really good. And it's not New York pizza, but it's pretty darn close. And so when I go there, I'll typically have some kind of chicken or something. But if I'm going to have pizza, I just know I'm not just having one slice. I know I'm eating the whole pie. So am I prepared to eat a whole pie today? So if I'm going to eat a whole pie, then I have the first slice. If I don't want to eat the whole pie, then I don't have that first slice. It's my exception. And the thing is, I know it. Now, there are certain times during the year, I'm sitting there with my kids and my grandchildren. We're having a great time. Everybody's eating pizza. I'm really lean and I'm in good shape. I'm not really watching this. I don't really have to watch it as closely right then. Can I have a pizza? Yeah. I'll sit down and eat a pizza. Everybody laughs because Pop eats a pizza, but I'll eat the whole pizza. But then I'm back. I'm back to eating normal right after that meal. I don't let it go on. Pizza's not one of these things where I have to keep eating pizza for 3 or 4 days in a row. I just keep. So
we are very much the same, John, when it comes to that. For me, I'm the same way. There are certain foods, if they are available to me and I indulge in one slice of pizza or one piece of dessert, it sends me off on just a roll, and so I know that first. I have to know before that first bite that is this something that I'll be okay with afterwards? Have
Exactly.
I done all the work prior to it? Have I saved my calories kind of for this event? And if I feel like I earned this victory here, then I'll go for it. But my wife and I, we can't go out for pizza more than probably once every couple of months, because I'll eat the whole pizza, and we can't have ice cream and cookies in the house because I'll eat the whole the half gallon within a couple of days. It's just, it can't be there.
I agree.
Yeah.
We've got a freezer in the basement for that specific reason. I've got kids and grandkids and everything. And, if everybody's around, they know that if they're going to go out and buy some ice cream, put it in the freezer downstairs. I don't really look in that, Put it in the freezer downstairs and don't let me know it's around. But the thing is, if I know it's there, I'm going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and eat a half a gallon of ice cream. Yeah. And, but the big thing is I know that about myself. The freezer upstairs, we make sure it's clean. The refrigerator upstairs, we make sure it's pretty clean. And, but so if you know that you can't eat that first scoop of ice cream without eating a half a gallon, don't have the first scoop of ice cream. Now, if you know you can take the scoop of ice cream and you're going to eat a half a gallon and then that's it, and you give yourself permission to knock that out for the day, but it's not going to create carb cravings for you because your insulin goes through the roof and your body is insulin resistant or whatever, and then the next day you're going to keep eating and you're going to be going through all these carbs. It's not worth it. It's like the person who has a problem with drinking. It's not worth it. Don't take the first drink. It's not worth it. You can't control it.
Yeah.
So, that's So anyway, that's the non-exception rule. If you know you've got an issue in your life, stay away from that issue.
Yeah, you have to. You have to avoid it like the plague. And
it's personal responsibility, which is not big today.
Yeah.
No. Nobody wants to have to take personal responsibility for themselves. But for goodness sakes, if you want to be lean, fit, energetic, if you want to be healthy, if you want to be successful in every area of your life, it takes discipline, and discipline is part of personal responsibility. It may not be popular, but who cares? Being successful isn't popular today. Obviously, being fit isn't popular today.
Yeah.
So if you want to be successful, if you want to be fit, and you want to achieve in areas of your life, you're going to have to be disciplined and have self-control in those areas. Even though everybody else around you may not be doing it, bottom line is, do you want to be like the other people? If you do want to be like the other people, do what they do. If you don't want to be like they are, don't do like they do.
Yeah, it reminds me of a very famous quote that seems to get put on a lot of different motivational pics, certainly pics of Arnold that we end up putting up on our fan page quite a bit. And it says something to the effect of, I don't want to be like everybody else. I hate that, or something like that. It's kind of like, don't be afraid to be yourself, to be different, because a lot of times, falling in line with everybody else isn't what's best. It's just, that's the easy way. But
God created you different. He created you different for a reason, because everybody's got their own purpose here. And and you're right. A lot of people want to kind of blend in and everything else. But I'll tell you, going to the ice cream parlor and only having vanilla ice cream will be awfully boring. And that's how it is in life. If everybody's the same, it makes for a very boring life.
Very boring.
And an unhappy life for the person who's trying to be what other people think they should be.
Yeah, precisely. Hey, so let's go, and we can kind of close with this. It's become kind of a popular, or I don't know if you want to call it popularized or trendy over the years, but intermittent fasting. And you do touch on the 8-16 rule. And obviously you speak from personal experience. It's kind of how you go about your eating habits. Could you kind of just touch on the 8-16 a little bit, and why it's been so effective for you?
Yeah, I don't eat like that all the time. I've got to be completely candid, which is why I put both of those in there. But I do eat like that. I eat like that when I'm traveling. I eat like that a lot of times during the week, and then I'll go back to eating the other way, and then I kind of go back and forth. And I tell that I also say that in the book. You can go back and forth between these. It's really the macronutrients that you're eating that's important, not necessarily the eating style. But some people, I had several of our mutual friends tell me about intermittent fasting, and I tried it and I really loved it. And after about 2 or 3 months, I was like, I feel like breakfast today. I felt like eating. So I had something, and then, I'll go 2 or 3 weeks like that, or a couple of months like that, and then I'll go back to the intermittent fasting. And, don't use me as a role model. I'm ADD, man. I got every initial tied to me that you can put on me. I'm all over. I'm all over. I like change. I'm very.
You're so hard on yourself, John.
I like change, though. I like change. It's that's why in my business we've got 9 employees. I'm hiring 10 because I have people fit in certain areas of my business. But there's certain things I tell them, you cannot let me touch this, because I'll change it just to get a little excitement in my life.
Yeah.
And it's not always the best thing. So I like change. There are certain things in my life that I can play with that. One is my exercise routine. That's always changing and evolving. I typically always go back to the same thing that I've always done, which I've been doing since probably the 90s, which I do a body part a day. I was one of the early guys who started doing that, simply because my schedule didn't allow for me to spend more than a half hour in the gym at certain points in my life.
Right.
So I do a body part a day. Now, will I change? Yeah, Lee Labrada calls me up and he goes, "Oh, John, you got to try this." But I try it for a month or two, and I get good results with it. But then I go back to what I liked, and then I get somebody else call me up, like Frigno. I'll talk to Louie. I am getting great results with this, so I try it. And I get great results, but then I go back to what I like. And so I do change things. One of those is the intermittent fasting and regular eating. Now, intermittent fasting just means that you eat for 8 hours and you don't eat for 16 hours. Really simple.
Yeah.
Some people will say you can have more carbs if you're eating that way, and blah blah blah. I think that depends on the person. I didn't find that to be true for myself. I found that when I'm doing intermittent fasting, I need to keep my carbs under 100 grams a day, just like I do when I'm eating regularly if I want to stay lean. One thing I do like about intermittent fasting is you can have carbs later at night without having a negative impact on you. And typically when I'm eating 5 or 6 meals a day or 7 meals a day, I won't have things like mashed potatoes and things like that. When I was doing intermittent fasting, I found that I could lose weight and have 100 grams of carbohydrates in the form of mashed potatoes in the evening with dinner. Man, I like that. And I was leaning out doing that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I love mashed potatoes.
Me too.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like it's like I get up pretty early. So like right now I'm eating 5-6 meals a day. I start with breakfast. I also, and one of the reasons I'm 53 years old. One of the reasons I like to have breakfast is because I like having my supplements with breakfast as well. I take certain nutritional supplements that I get from my doctor, and I like taking those with breakfast versus taking them at lunchtime. A lot of times I'll forget to take them, and if I take them on an empty stomach, they get me sick.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't want to take amino acids or any kind of creatine, glutamine, whatever it is. I don't want to take that with just water and have nothing else in my system.
Like I work with Dan Holtz out in L.A. He owns Beverly Hills Rejuvenation. Mel Gibson's working with him, Mickey Rourke. He works with a lot of celebrities. And he has me, I've got genetic cholesterol issues, which we've been able to solve through proper nutrition and through supplements. So I take like red rice brewer's yeast. I take krill oil. There's certain supplements I just take. They're just natural supplements, but if you don't take them with food, they make you feel nauseous. Absolutely, so I have a tendency, if I don't take them with breakfast, they don't get taken because I get into the office and I forget about them. So that's one of the reasons lately why I've been eating breakfast versus doing the intermittent fasting. Now, will I go back on the intermittent fasting? Yeah, I know I will. I'll absolutely go back on the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And I go back and forth. Some people just don't want to have breakfast. Well, if you don't want to have breakfast, then try the intermittent fasting. It's good for you. And if you know that you need to eat breakfast, well, then follow a 5 or 6 meal a day. I call it the old school way of eating, but 5 or 6 meals a day. It would just make sure that you're eating properly according to the guidelines that are in the book.
Yeah.
So, is one better than the other? Nah, I don't think one is better than the other.
You just have to go with the one that works. I mean, let's face it.
It's more personality-based. It's more preference-based than it is nutritionally-based. I don't care what anybody says. I've experimented with both for a couple of years. Well, I've eaten the other way for my whole life, but I've experimented with the intermittent fast. Is it good? Yeah, it's really good, but it's personality-based. It's not. I don't think there's any scientific nutrition-based. A lot of them will say it increases your testosterone, it increases your growth hormone, blah 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 blah. But then I speak to experts who are experts in anti-aging, and they say it's not true. So is it true or is it not true? I have no idea. What I do know is I can eat both ways and get good results. I know people who do intermittent fasting, and they have phenomenal results. But then I also know guys like Lou Ferrigno and other people who were in their 60s in phenomenal shape and have always eaten, and very healthy, have always eaten 5 or 6 meals a day. So I think it's more preference based than science based. But
different strokes for different folks. You have to go with what works for you. And I thank you so much for your honesty and stuff, and the fact that you can say I do it both ways, because let's face it, it's tough to stay with one method for the long haul if it feels forced. If it feels forced, it's not lasting. So, and I think that's ultimately what you're trying to create here for somebody with extremely simple fat loss is, here you go. Yes, it is simple, and it can work for you forever, for the rest of your life. It's just, are you willing to commit to it? And if you can, make all those adjustments and form those good habits and do the right goal setting and the action planning and everything else with your 5-6 meals a day, or if you don't want the breakfast in the morning, like some of us, they drink coffee, tea, water, whatever, and then wait till lunchtime to eat. You're a perfect candidate for IF,
Exactly.
And yeah. So, wow. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up and just say thank you so much. I think this has been a real candid conversation, which is really what I always try and go for. I like for us to go off on tangents. I think that's what the listeners want to hear anyway. They want to hear real conversation. They want honesty, and they want to hear from people like you that have just so many great experiences to pull from. And I just thank you so much for your time, John. And I know the listeners will really benefit from all this just terrific information. And we wish you the greatest success with extremely simple fat loss. And God bless you, my friend.
Bless you too, Chris. Thank you so much for your time, and for those people listening. Thank you for your time. Let me point out one thing before we close. Don't look for a guru. I'm not a frigging guru. I'm just a guy who's figured it out. Don't look for the guru. Don't look for these people who call themselves experts, because experts come and go. Trends come and go. The most important thing, there are principles that are time-tested. Find 2 or 3 principles that last for you. Stick with them. See your health increase, and change your life. Anyway, Chris, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Bless you, brother. And I will see you in a couple of weeks in Florida.
I look forward to it, my friend. Thank you so much, John.
Appreciate it, Chris.